Scrutiny Committee of People and Communities on Wednesday, the 3rd of September 2025. Let's begin the agenda. So, number 1, to note substitutes in accordance with Committee Procedure Rule 4. We have Councillor Caravaggio for Councillor Clark, Councillor Lucraft for Councillor Hatton, Councillor Marsh for Councillor Knight. Is that all acceptable to everybody?
Agreed.
Okay. Secondly, to receive apologies from Councillors Hatton, Clark, Knight and Mockford. Do we agree on their apologies? Accept their apologies?
Agreed.
Okay. In the absence of Councillor Hatton, I, as Deputy Chair, is it acceptable that I continue as Interim Chair?
Agreed.
Okay. I'd like to propose the temporary appointment of Councillor Eggleton. I believe he has a proposer and seconder who would. Okay. Are we all happy with Councillor Eggleton as Interim Deputy? Okay, thank you. Right, let's go to item number 3, to receive declarations of interest from members in respect of any matter on the agenda. Councillor Pascoe.
I'm a member of Hoseath Town Council, which
Okay.
is relevant to the agenda item.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm a member of Hoseath Town Council as well.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Ellis.
Thank you again, once again, a member of Hoseath Town Council.
And Councillor Bushier. Okay, and I will point out that my district ward includes Hoseath North West, is it, or East? I always get these confused. Yeah, anyway, one of the wards under consideration later on. I am also a member, thank you, Gary, yes, indeed. Thank you, Councillor Marsh-Raleigh. Yeah, I am a member of the Parish Council as well. No, thank you very much. I'm very grateful. Okay, any other declarations of interest on any other matter on the agenda?
I guess it's part of my district ward as well.
Okay,
Yeah.
fine. Thank you very much. Okay, so let's move to item number 4. To agree by general affirmation the minutes of the previous Scrutiny Committee held on the 28th of May 2025. Can I ask for verbal agreement for those?
Agreed.
Okay, I will dutifully sign and date those minutes at the end of this meeting. To consider any items that the Chairman agrees to take as any urgent business, I have none and I'm not, so we're going to move straight on to number 6, the draft recommendations of the Community Governance Review Stage 2 consultation process, and I would invite Stephen Brown to introduce the report, please.
Thank you, Chairman. This report represents the end of the first stage of the public consultation part of the review, and instigates the commencement of the second stage, at which point the evaluation panel will meet and consider all of the views, public views, and of course the views of the Scrutiny Committee tonight, and Scrutiny Committee again when it meets at the end of the second stage, before any recommendations are made to Council. I think the Monitoring Officer would like to say a few words in advance as well of this item, if that's okay.
Okay, please do.
Good evening, members. Thank you. The report before you reflects the findings of the first of a 2-stage consultation process as part of a community governance review, as noted by this committee, 28th of May 2025. The first stage consultation ran between 9 June and 8th of August, and the responses have been carefully considered and referenced, and they inform the draft recommendations for the stage 2 consultation process, and they're listed at paragraph 3A through C of the report in front of you. Members will note proposals to keep Haywards Heath North East within Haywards Heath Town Council, keep Rocky Lane North and Rocky Lane South within Anstey and Staplefield Parish Council, and you will also note additional proposals to increase councillor numbers for Haywards Heath Town Council and combine existing town wards to make larger multi-member wards, the proposing of ward arrangements that cross over existing county boundary divisions being permitted under CGR processes. As to next steps, the recommendations as drafted will be subject to a second consultation process. The Council will seek views of local electors and any other person or body that has an interest in this review before you. The second stage consultation period is timetabled between 15th of September and 14th of November. The panel will then reconvene and evaluate all responses, and a further report will come before you in January 2026. Scrutiny may direct officers to note its comments and observations as part of any final decision-making at the February 26 Council. Thereafter, where appropriate, a reorganisation order will be made and will take effect in the May 2027 elections. I trust that assists. Thank you. Thank you, members.
Thank you. Do you have anything further to add? Okay, and then I think we're open to the floor for debate. So if you have comments, then please feel free to contribute them. Okay, Councillor Lucroft.
Thank you, Chair. Firstly, I think I'd like to thank officers and the panel for their work in assessing the responses, and also like to thank members of the public who responded with comments and informed the discussion and the review by the panel. Now, having said the nice part, I have a number of points to raise in relation to whether the panel has fully carried out the terms of reference of the Scrutiny Committee. There are, within the terms of reference, if you look at what was agreed at the previous meeting, requirement to look at what happens in terms of community identity, and also what takes place in terms of community governance. I believe that what the panel has really concentrated on is the feedback from residents and other interested parties, rather than looking at the requirements of a review to take into account how best people are represented and the implications for local communities in terms of community identity. Particularly if you look at the terms of reference 1.2, it says that the council specifically should take into account those two key tenets of policy. There is reference within the report that is before us this evening in points 44 and 45, but it doesn't really cover the full guidance that's given in the terms of reference, and the report doesn't highlight any of the key points around community identity, particularly if one looks at the housing estates south of Rocky Lane. I mean, misleadingly, they're called Rocky Lane North and Rocky Lane South, but they're actually both on the south side of Rocky Lane. They are clearly part of Haywards Heath. They were built on that basis. The prospectus of the builders was that those housing estates were being built as part of the community of Haywards Heath. And indeed, the Anstey and Staplefield Parish Council's leaflet actually tells people that they're part of Haywards Heath. In fact, rather cheekily, it says, quote, whether you choose to remain in Anstey and Staplefield Parish Council or move to Haywards Heath Town Council, you will still have access to everything that Haywards Heath has to offer in terms of events, amenities and services, end quote. So residents can still enjoy the benefits and access everything that Haywards Heath has to offer, but can apparently reside in Anstey and Staplefield Parish Council. Now, community identity has to look at the geographic spatial arrangement within the area under consideration. If you look at the Anstey and Staplefield Parish Council, it covers an area of 15 square miles. It's the largest rural parish council in West Sussex, and it spreads in a great crescent from the north of Cuckfield all the way around from Staplefield over to Bolney and right down to Hurstpierpoint, and then comes back at the bottom of Cuckfield into Burgess Hill, borders on Lewis, and indeed in this case borders on the southwest side of Haywards Heath. What we're looking at in terms of the area in Rocky Lane north and south wards is an area less than a third of a square mile within that parish council area. It's a huge geographical area, but the part that we're talking about borders not only borders onto, but is contiguous with the whole of Haywards Heath. If you're a resident there, you can't travel anywhere by car or indeed bike or any other means of public transport without going into Haywards Heath. The whole infrastructure that those residents access in terms of shops, bars, restaurants, community buildings, parks, gardens, footpaths, cycleways, bus routes, schools, doctor surgeries, places of worship, places of work locally, are all within Haywards Heath. Indeed, the Anstey and Staplefield Parish Council also refers to the fact that 1/3 of its meetings are now in a local community building. They're actually in the Ashton Ground Community Centre in Haywards Heath, and which is still partly being paid for by Haywards Heath Town Council. So no community facilities are really delivered within the Rocky Lane estates. They were built as housing estates as part of Haywards Heath. It is odd, therefore, not to recognise consistent with the decisions that were taken with the Northern Arc in Burgess Hill and Brookley, that they moved to Burgess Hill. What we have here is a built-out estate, and we're still saying, well, we'd leave it in a parish council area. Then the other side to that is what is the governance capability of a parish council for a rural area compared with a category 1 level town council. In the district plan and the Haywards Heath neighbourhood plan, this area is included in those plans as part of Haywards Heath. Haywards Heath Town Council was consulted and developed the neighbourhood plan when we're talking nearly 10 years ago. And yet we have a proposal here to leave this area outside of that town. It seems odd to me. Together with the ability, the competence level of the Rural Parish Council only being a category 4 level parish council. It's not had a contested election in any of its wards in the last 16 years. That I couldn't go back further than that because the district council's records are archived somewhere on previous parish council elections. But there hasn't been a contested election in any of its wards. It has a part-time clerk. It doesn't even have an office. She works from home. There isn't even a mailing address to which you can write. And we're comparing it with a category 1 town council, which has 15, 16 staff, operates a full-time office, 9 to 5 each day of the week, each weekday, and provides a full service, including events, amenities, and including things like allotments. There is reference in the leaflet from Ardingly, Anstey and Staplefield Parish Council to the fact they're looking for allotment space. It is a bit disingenuous, however, because they're actually looking for space for allotments in Staplefield. The Haywards Heath Town Council has allotment space in Ashton Ground, within walking distance, and is about to acquire more allotment space with the build out of the Hurstwood Lane development in the south east of the town. And it has 3 other allotment locations. It also has a burial ground, which is also about to get more burial space, and Anstey Parish Council doesn't provide that either. So I'd like to draw the panel's attention to those factors and ask that they consider them in the due course when they're doing their next follow-up review. I think there are other things they might look at. In terms of evidence, they can research what exactly the Anstey and Staplefield Parish Council does, because it's on its website. It's very clearly and not unreasonably focused on delivering services for residents from small villages and hamlets that make up most of its parish. In a lot of ways, it's probably asking too much for it to also then be able to represent to equivalent level and potentially different demands a suburban area of Haywards Heath. I understand, why there might be an issue, which is probably around the financial challenges for that parish council, but it's not reasonable to say that that is solved by saying to people who are part of Haywards Heath that you are not going to be recognised as part of the Haywards Heath area because the parish council needs to be funded some way. They will still receive the full precept for the next 2 years. Any assets that they've bought over the last period of time in terms of grip bins or bus shelters or whatever could be paid for and transferred across to Haywards Heath Town Council. and perhaps there's a way of looking at a formula to help them with their funding. But I don't think that should stop the council, the district council, from looking at what makes good governance arrangements for those residents. We may get quoted as well, the rationale for delay being local government reorganisation. But I think there are a number of factors that argue against that being a reason for delay. First one is that there's no proposal from either the county council or any of the district groups to divide the area of the Anstey Staplefield Parish Council from Haywards Heath Town Council in terms of which unitary authority they might be a member of. They will still be in the same unitary authority in the future. There is no need to delay because of that. There's no uncertainty around that review. And indeed, I'd also point to the discussion that took place at the last meeting of this committee, where the director responsible pointed out why the review needs to be done now rather than waiting on the basis of what might come from government parliamentary acts. There is no reason to believe that the whole world we need to wait for the whole world before making appropriate recommendations about the where these two wards sit at local government parish level. That's my basic concerns. Hopefully people understand, that the rationale for moving it into Haywards Heath Town Council should be a key understanding of the panel should look at what that means for local residents and why it might deliver better governance.
Okay, thank you. I'll take Councillor Marsh next, and then we'll perhaps any officer's response, if there is some.
You might want to go to the officers first, because I'm going to ask a question. Well, can I ask a question and then I'll
Yeah,
ask
well, you asked the question.
Thank you. The question I would like to ask, who actually asked for the governance regarding this contentious part, shall we say, to go into Haywards Heath from the parish of Anstey and Staplefield, please?
Yeah.
Sorry, could you just repeat the question in terms of who actually asked for?
Yes, was it Haywards Heath Town Council asked for this, or did Anstey and Staplefield say, hey, we don't want you anymore?
In terms of the responses?
No, not responses. Who requested the governance?
So that was a council decision upon deferral from 2022, and then it was agreed at this scrutiny committee to commence the community governance review.
I was here in 22, so I remember that. Right. You'll probably gather I might take a diametrically opposed view to that. Mm-hmm. But I don't disagree with one of the recommendations increasing the town council from 16 to 17. I don't have a problem with that. Right. I don't think my group have a problem with that. I'm looking at Sandy, who's a town councillor. Would you have a problem with increasing it another councillor on the town council?
No, I think that would be a good recommendation.
Yeah, don't have a problem with that one. Okay. Now, what I do have a problem with is, and you might think I'm being a bit facetious here, but it's a pure money grab. That's how I look at it. And when I spoke to the Anstey and Staplefield Parish Council about this, they don't want to lose it. And as I say, it takes 43% of their preset. Of course they're going to say that. But then you could argue, Haywards Heath said, well, I like that 43% because they've got things they want to spend the money on. So that's by the by, but I think we ought to put that down. Secondly is, Councillor Lucroft did make a very good argument that why many PCs don't have any elections. They do. They do. I was elected in Slutham, but I wasn't elected in Turners Hill. I was elected into Balkan Parish Council. And the main reason is that they struggle, as you do, as you're a parish councillor, to get numbers to people to say. You probably did get elected.
For the record, there was an election in Linfield.
Yeah. So there are elections in parish councils. They're not as frequent because, guess what? The parishes are not meant to be political. That's why they're all apolitical. You do have some people who nominate themselves, oh, I'm a Labour person, I'm a Conservative, I'm a Liberal Democrat. on their declaration forms, but for the most part, they're just people who want to do what they can for the benefit of their village. It's only when you get to the three main towns that politics rears its ugly head into it. Because in reality, the town councils are really only big with parishes. There's no such thing on statute as town councils, they're all parish councils. So that's just the way that is. Now, the argument I would say, why did Haywards Heath Town Council didn't argue when Green Hill Way came about? I know it's in a different county, but it's right up the boundary of Haywards Heath. And guess what? They use all the facilities at Haywards Heath. The only thing they don't use is because I argue when I was in the cabinet, I think the Deputy Chief Executive can back me up on this one, we tried to get them to have their bins collected by us. And we came that close to getting it done, and Lewis decided they didn't want to do that. So apart from their bins, they use every single facility, but you don't get any money from using the facilities over here in Haywards Heath. So I come into Haywards Heath, I use the facilities. Does that mean you're going to supersede me? You're going to take Balcombe? You're going to take Ardenline and all the other parishes because we happen to go into the towns to buy things? And my daughters went to school in Cookfield. That means we're going to take over Cookfield? So I'm not being facetious, I'm just saying there are two sides of the story. And I think as LGR waddles down the road and gets to whatever it is, we were promised in July this year we were going to get a green paper. What's going to happen to the parishes? Weren't we? We were going to find out what was going to happen, and the government got preoccupied by other things, and as a consequence, that never materialised. So it will materialise at some point. I think this is premature, and I will support the recommendation for it, unless I can hear some radical reasons why it should change. I can't see myself changing, but I will support the town council be expanded from 16 to 30, because I do think representation is a good thing. Now, the other thing as well, in your ward, which is with Linfield, taking parts of Franklin's, they don't really want to go into Linfield because they feel that, and it's down to pounds, shillings and pence. Those who are old enough to remember pounds, shillings and pence, you probably don't. But if you do, they feel if they go into Linfield, their council tax is going to rise. So that's why they probably didn't want to do it. Parish council probably want it, but not necessarily the residents. And I think it's the residents that have really got the biggest say in this matter. We as district councillors, we who are twin-hatted on different towns and parishes, we are subservient to the district, and a lot of people forget that. We all represent our residents, and it's the residents are the people who put us in this room. And it's the residents who really should have the final say. We all think we're very good at doing what we do. I mean, let's face it, most of us are rank amateurs at it. So can I suggest that we go with the officer's recommendation, and that's what I would do. But I will caveat that recommendation 3B(2) should be increased. I can support that. Thank you, Chairman.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Pascoe.
Thank you. I think some interesting, good contributions there from Councillor Marsh, but I would like to counter some of those. This is a scrutiny committee, and we are here to scrutinise as a critical friend to provide our view on what the officers' recommendations are. And they've given some recommendations, and we are here to consider some of those and provide our view as local representatives. So whilst the local residents definitely should have their voice, and we should be considering that, it's important that we think about it in a broader context. I do not believe this is a money grab. I believe that Haywards Heath Town Council are considering the area as part of joining the Haywards Heath Town Council because it's in the neighbourhood plan, the Haywards Heath Town. It's in the Haywards Heath as part of my district ward. It's in the Haywards Heath, part of it's in the Haywards Heath Town County ward, the Haywards Heath Town. It's not in the Einstein Saperfield Parish Council's neighbourhood plan. The area in question is, by all plans that are already officially considered, part of Haywards Heath. And I think that broader consideration, the sort of strategic reasons for why that settlement exists is because it's part of an urban extension of Haywards Heath, and it has been planned within that way. I know that other areas, as Councillor Marsh mentioned, Green Hill Way could be included, but it's not part of this consultation, and so we aren't able to really consider that as part of today. So thinking about that, a lot of the concerns that we see are that the the attitudes that the residents have said is that they feel they might be, underrepresented at Hayward Town Council. But within the response that Hayward Town Council has given, we've actually suggested increasing the councillor ward, the number of councillors available for that ward, so that the current representation, they would still be representing those wards just as part of Hayward Town Council. Hayward Town Council has powers of general competence, as my colleague Councillor Lucroft said. They have meetings several meetings that are open 9 to 5 days a week. There's more opportunities for councillors to engage with local politics, to represent their communities. As powers of general competence, they've got greater budgets, things they can spend on the area. The residents, we know, and as Anstey and Staple Parish Council say, the residents can use the area of Hayward Town Council. They can use Hayward area, and I think it's appropriate if they are using those areas that they contribute to the costs into running it. Like they use Ashengrove Community Centre, like Councillor Lucroft mentioned. That's an area that is being partially funded by Hayward Town Council. On the same road is the Vale Road allotments, where if they're already going that way for their council meetings, they could go there for their allotments, and it would all be covered by the town council ward that they'd be joining. So I think the concerns are valid. I understand why they might feel they're underrepresented, but the recommendations and some of the consultation by the town council actually offers a counter to that, to say that they can increase the representation. I understand in terms of the money grab, 46% of its precept is a significant precept to consider, a portion of their precept to consider. I'm sure that Hayward Town Council would consider some sort of a transitionary arrangement to support the parish in that kind of change. It is a large proportion for them to think about. And I think if some, discussion between the parishes, there could be an agreement that would lessen the impact of that. I feel like a lot of weight is being given to the fact that it's a large proportion of their precept, and if that could be softened for them, which I'm sure the town council would be willing to do, that could be considered as part of the next phase of consultation. And yeah, so just lastly, so the investments that are similar with the investments that have been made into the area. I think those are kind of my main concerns, talking to some of the points that Councillor Marsh made. I'll give some opportunity for maybe other officers to feedback.
Councillor Ellis is next to speak, actually.
Thank you, Chairman. I'd just like to sort of say, as probably the longest standing Hayward Town Councillor, obviously being through many of this, and actually the North East Heath was a Heath ward that I ended up being split, and obviously ended up with a portion of it, and it went off. So what you've said at the beginning, this is the first public consultation, so I'm just reading and listening to, because that's very close to my heart, because it was something that I actually was elected for many years and had good relationships with all those residents who've probably written in. So my concern is we do need to listen to them, even though we do obviously have other valid points put forward. But I think we're on the first consultation, and I'm very happy for the officers and everything you put forward, the reviews we've come back. I understand the different arguments made here, but also obviously the town council has been constantly increasing in staff in their town council, so it has moved and got bigger itself. So this is another one that would be taking on more residents. So I would be happy to accept the recommendations and look forward to the second consultation from there, obviously with the residents' feedback again, and I'm sure they'll have as much information as we've got here. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Do any officers wish to reply to anything that's been said? Yep.
Thank you, members. And firstly, I'd like to actually thank you all for your quite detailed comments and analysis back. I think this is where the Scrutiny Committee works really well, is you being able to tell us directly. And please be assured that all of these comments are being minuted, and that these minutes are going to be referred at the second CGR evaluation panel after the second consultation panel. What I would also encourage all members to do, and encourage your fellow members, is to respond to the community governance review if they wish to. The more responses we get, the better, hopefully, our recommendations become, and more thorough our considerations become. But I just wanted to kind of thank members for their detailed responses to that.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Eggleston.
Thank you, Chairman, for allowing me to speak. Just a couple of points. Having spent the afternoon at a local government reorganisation meeting, I think it's worth pointing out that going forward into unitary authorities, say, for argument's sake, we have two unitary authorities, and say one of them consists of Mid Sussex, Horsham, and Crawley. You'd have 54 parish councils in a unitary authority. Now, we've not had any discussions about that, but I would say with the best will in the world, a unitary authority is going to struggle to have close working relationships with 54 parish councils. So I know the government hasn't produced its green paper or any coloured paper yet, but whatever happens, I suspect it's likely that at some point, bearing in mind all the other problems that a new unitary authority will have to deal with, that there will be a whole series of community governance reviews to rationalise and better empower parish councils. So I think that's the first thing to bear in mind. Councillor Marsh made comment about, and so I believe it's a development which is in East Sussex on the border of Haywards Heath and West Sussex, and the monitoring officer will correct me if I'm wrong, if she has the answer. But I think there's a challenge with doing a community governance review where areas cross county boundaries. I think you would need primary or secondary legislation to deal with that kind of review, but I'm sure I'll be corrected if I'm wrong. Hearing the comments from all members and the comments from you, Aidan, I do wonder whether there's a form of words that could be incorporated, not for me to make any recommendations, but whether there's a form of words that you could, as a scrutiny committee, capture so that the evaluation panel is directed to deal with the points raised at this scrutiny committee and the next scrutiny committee after the second consultation. There may well be something in our constitution which allows us to direct the authority to do that. And again, perhaps the monitoring officer could give some guidance.
Can I ask Councillor Lucroft first and then take you next? Councillor Lucroft.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, it was just to come back on one point which I've omitted to raise earlier on, but is to deal with the warding and a number of councillors. Could I ask that the panel has a look at the Ashing Ground ward, because the Haywards Heath Council submission suggested increase in it to 4 councillors. Currently there's 2. If even without including the Rocky Lane North and South wards in it, it warrants an increase by 1 to 3 because it's completely disproportionate from the other wards. I know that in your report you've taken on board the recommendation to put an extra councillor into the Franklin's ward, but you missed what was recommended about the Ashing Ground ward, and you end up with a really strange situation where with twice the number of, the same number of people, they're massively underrepresented if you don't add an extra councillor to that. That
Right.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, Julia.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, members. Just to point members to scrutiny powers within the Constitution. Should members be minded to, scrutiny can make recommendations to the authority on matters affecting the district and its inhabitants, and direct officers and the panel as they see wish to assist with this process. Members are welcome to bring those recommendations forward should they wish to. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Is there anybody else who wishes to comment?
Well, I could, but I won't.
Oh, thank you for your restraint.
Just very quickly,
okay.
I'm the only, myself and Councillor Edwards, Jenny Edwards, are the only wards that actually cross 2 parliamentary boundaries.
Right.
And God knows how many different parishes. I've got about 7 parishes that I have to go. I have to go and visit. So it isn't an anomaly, to be perfectly honest, having to travel to other places. And I thought they did have an office in Anstey Parish Hall because we gave them a lot of money because that's where they regularly meet. So I think it's down to the change of the parish clerk is why she doesn't want to work there as opposed to working from home. But enough said on that.
Okay, councillor Whittaker.
Thank you, Chair. Just a brief one. I find it very frustrating. We've got a 59-page report, so thank you to the officers. Inordinate amount of time in putting all this together. This is just halfway through the process. We're doing it again. Surely our officers have got better things to do in efficiency of time and operations. I thought all of this was done and dusted by the Boundary Commission a couple of years ago. So why are we doing it again?
So initially, the community governance review was proposed due to the misalignment in the district and parish ward boundaries following that electoral review I think you might be referring to by the Local Government Boundary Commission England. And the Local Government Boundary Commission England at the time cannot fix those anomalies. It has to be done by a community governance review. That went to the Scrutiny Committee at the time in 2022, in which that decision was deferred by 3 years to 2025. It was then brought before this committee in May, and that's why it has commenced. What I would also say is that it gives the opportunity for local residents and any other organisations and yourselves to feed back on governance arrangements and making sure that our governance arrangements for the parish councils and the town councils are working, and gives the opportunity to fix anything that isn't, or can be improved, I should say.
Okay, any further councillors wish to speak on this? Councillor Lucroft.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, so following on the comments from the monitoring officer, I would like to propose that we add to the minute or the recommendations of the report to say that we direct the panel on reviewing responses which are to form part of this report to this Scrutiny Committee in early 2026. The evaluation panel must include and report on the observations, recommendations, submissions made by members at this Scrutiny Committee.
Okay.
Thank you, Chair. Through you, Chair, that's absolutely acceptable. That's under Part 4 of the scrutiny powers, and that's possible for us to do. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. So, no other else being minded to vote, to contribute? Let's go to the vote then. So can we turn to the recommendation on page 7? And I shall read it and then we shall go to a vote after that. So the committee has recommended to A, note the findings of the first stage public consultation. B, agree the council's draft recommendations in respect of Hayward Heath Town Council, Linfield Parish Council and Anstey and Staplefield Parish Council being subject to the public consultation as follows. That firstly, that Hayward Heath North East remains with Hayward Heath Town Council and does not move to Linfield Parish Council. That Rocky Lane North and Rocky Lane South remains with Anstey and Staplefield Parish Council and does not move to Hayward Heath Town Council. That Hayward Heath Town Council expands from 16 councillors representing 9 wards to 17 councillors representing 5 wards. We also require officers to reconvene the panel to review responses and provide a further final report to the committee in early 2026, and this is to be ratified by full council thereafter. Plus, could you read that again, please? Yep, I would.
Thank you, Chair. And upon reviewing the responses which are to form part of the report to this Scrutiny Committee in early 2026, the evaluation panel must include and report on the observations, recommendations and submissions made by members at this Scrutiny Committee.
Okay.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Can we please move to a vote on the recommendation? Okay, all members vote. Right. So the draft recommendations for community governance review stage 2 consultation, 9 voted yes, nobody voted no, and 1 abstained. Let's move on to our next piece of business. So we come now to item number 7, the air quality strategy, and I invite Judy Holmes to introduce the report for us.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Committee. I'm not going to say very much, but I am going to hand over to Lucy. Hopefully, this is slightly more straightforward. It contains some good news, actually, which is in respect to the air quality management area at Stonepound Crossroads, Hassocks, which this committee will recall was revoked in December. And as a result of that, the council is now required to adopt an air quality strategy. This committee will be aware that we already have a sustainable economic strategy, so this will be a good partner to that strategy. And so the purpose of this report is to ask the Scrutiny Committee to consider the strategy ahead of it going out for consultation and then hopefully being recommended to council, subject to that consultation at its meeting on the 10th of December. I'm just going to, if it's okay through you, Chair, invite Lucy to ask if she's got anything she wants to add to that.
Thank you and good evening. I would like to draw your attention particularly to this air quality strategy being very closely aligned to and is a key component of our sustainable economic strategy. They very much fit hand in hand. This draft strategy sets out actions to be taken to improve air quality across the whole district. The objectives are set out in the draft before you today, and in addition, the draft sets out the background to air pollution, monitoring of air quality, improvements that are available to this council, and you'll also see that this strategy will run from 2026 to 2030. The council is required to consult on the draft policy for 6 weeks, and it's intended that this will start on the 15th of September. If we do receive substantial comments during that consultation, those issues will be addressed and brought back to this scrutiny committee. Otherwise, as you've heard from Judy, the policy will be recommended for adoption by council on the 10th of December. And if you have any questions, please do ask. And I'm very grateful my colleague Nick Bennett is here with me this evening, who is far closer to this subject than I am. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I open it for debate. Councillor Marsh.
Just a quick one, Chairman. Whether it's for Lucy or Judy or the leader of the council to offer, we cease to exist in May 28 until we move into whatever unitary is decided to hoist upon us. How does it run if we make a decision and it's ratified by full council? Does that get carried over into the unitary? This quality, because I do think it's a vital bit of work that we've spent a lot of years.
Okay,
Councillor Eggleston,
right. Perhaps
thank you, Chairman.
We're doing our best not to foist or hoist anything on anybody, but we are following the statutory requirements that the government has kindly placed upon us. But all policies, as we move into unitary authority, all of our policy framework will continue through. Obviously, there will be other councils with other policy frameworks, and there will be a very pleasing process of aligning everyone's policies with each other. Do join me for the fun.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Leader. Councillor Whittaker.
Thank you, Chair. I know it's an overall air quality strategy, but maybe it's a question for Mr Bennett. Just bringing to attention in East Grinstead on the A22 corridor, whilst it's not an AQA like Hassocks is and is always mentioned, but however, it's got regular air monitoring stations, and I physically see them. But in the past year, we've had SA19 and SA20, both allocated sites in the DPD approved by planning. So can I just keep it on the radar, please, for any future air quality strategy to include as a designation East Grinstead A22 corridor and north side? Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other members wish to speak? Right.
Thank you, Chair. I just really wanted to ask is there a quantum for the large housing projects which you mention in your strategy?
Thank you. It's any major development of 10 or more houses, so I hope that assists.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I called councillors in the wrong order, so I'll call Councillor Eggleton next, and then we'll go to Councillor Reeves.
Thank you very much, Chair. So I really enjoyed this document, and it left me with one or two questions. So I note that in terms of cultural and behavioural shift, that there is encouraging a flexible approach to working from home for council workers and the use of green travel. I was just wondering why sustainable travel infrastructure didn't make it into the objectives table under objective 3, encourage behaviour change and promote sustainable choices. As it's my view that there would be, of course, direct impacts from sustainable travel infrastructure, such as bike paths that are already being constructed, as obviously those are trips that are being made by bicycle and not by fossil fuel-based cars, but also indirect effects, because the residents are naturally going to push for more, and they will themselves identify areas where air quality may not be so good that we can then action. I was just wondering why that wasn't in there. That'd be great for an answer.
Thank you very much. That's because that's dealt with in the main strategy, which is the sustainable economic strategy. And what I wanted to be very careful was in this, we didn't double up, and that we were only recording our actions and our objectives and our outcomes in one place. So if I may refer you to the main economic strategy, then that's where it will be.
Okay, brief retort.
Thank you very much. Given that complementarity was in the introduction, that makes a lot of sense. Thank you very much.
Okay, Councillor Reeves.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, along similar lines to Councillor Eggleton, we read that 39% of our pollution is because of traffic. So obviously we are seeking to reduce traffic, and therefore active travel would seem to be the obvious way. It seems to me a shame that none of the West Sussex active travel funding reached Mid-Sussex, the latest amount of funding. And so are officers pressing to get any of that money? Is there any hope? And surely the best way of reducing traffic is cycle paths between towns, which are off-road. Thank you.
Judy Holmes has a response for you.
Thank you. Yes, this is something that we discuss regularly. It does come up in many fora, and I can assure you that officers remain committed to working with the County Council to ensure that the work that we have done in Mid-Sussex to map those active travel corridors and the work of the LC whips does have a profile with our County Council colleagues.
Thank you. Thank you. Are there any other members who wish to speak to this issue? No? Okay, let's proceed to the vote. And if you turn to page 67 in your pack, it says recommendations, but I can only see really one recommendation there. So the recommendation is the committee are recommended to endorse the draft air quality strategy at Appendix 1 prior to a 6-week public consultation commencing on the 15th of September 2025. So if you could vote on that now, please. Okay, the results of that vote are 10 votes in favour, no, 0, and abstain 0 as well. So let's move on to the next item on the agenda, which is the Equalities and Diversity Scheme proposed update and refresh. If I could invite Stephen Brown, please, to introduce that report.
Yes, thank you, Chair. This is a refreshed equality, diversity and inclusion strategy, which hopefully ensures conformity with the Equality Act of 2010. It includes feedback from the March meeting of this committee and also further meeting we had with the Chair, which was very useful. The report reflects the changing demographic of the staff and the community and is aimed at ensuring that there is better accessibility by minority community groups to our services. It also ensures that we gather the appropriate data under the GDPR regs. It also goes on to recommend that there is some further member and employee development as part of this. And we are hoping that that will be well supported by members as we move forward. But I'll stop there through you, Chair, if it's okay. I'm going to ask if there's anything to add from Paul.
Okay, thank you.
Good evening, members. Thank you very much. I'm really pleased to bring this revised EDI strategy to scrutiny this evening. The revised strategy has been based on feedback received from you in March when we had the initial conversation, and I've also taken feedback from senior managers, employees, and feedback that we've received around community engagement previously as well, to create a more streamlined, refreshed policy. We've looked at refreshing the objectives. Under the public sector duty, we have to provide objectives that we report on a yearly basis. And I've looked at the previous ones and tried to build on those so that we can take on board the feedback received in March around engagement with our communities and also engagement with our employees on how we design and do services, making sure that we ensure that our minority groups within our communities can access our services properly. Another important element, as Stephen's mentioned, is training and development and knowledge and learning around this area. And it's really important for us to be able to ensure that we all have the skills, knowledge to be able to take this strategy forward and support our community and our staff in how we do things. I also respond to another piece of feedback that we had in March, which was around identifying neurodivergent people within the community. And I've identified that in the strategy under disability, because some people who are neurodiverse do consider themselves to have a disability, whereas some don't. But under that situation, we would consider reasonable adjustments, reasonable adjustments regardless, to make sure that employees can do their job well, but also those in the community can access our services properly and well. Data also is a real key point of this strategy. We want to make sure that we have data, we have insights that we can work with, and we can make sure that the services that we put out there relate to the data that we've gathered. So we don't want it to be a tick box exercise. We want to do real work around the data that we gather and make sure that it reflects our community. There's new demographics on the strategy taken from the 2021 census, which shows that we have an increase in the older population and also of the ethnic minority groups. And I've put, there's been a briefer explanation around those within the new strategy to build on the information that's on the previous strategy. Again, I want to focus on the engagement element of this. It's really important, and it was made clear in March, that we should be making every effort we can to engage with our communities. And It might be difficult in some areas, but it's one of those things that we need to do. So having had discussions with colleagues across the council, everybody understands that and knows that that's a key thing to take forward. With regards to this strategy, I'm bringing this here to gain some any recommendations or changes to this strategy prior to bringing it to you at council in December, all being well, and to answer any questions you might have around any changes that I put in it.
Okay, thank you very much for your presentation. Councillor Marsh.
Thank you. I need two questions. I am old and I'm a bit thick. Can you tell me what that was? Neurodiversity. Okay, what the hell is that?
So it's a terminology that people use who have what was previously known as maybe a hidden disability.
Oh, right.
So people who maybe think differently, not a neurotypical, may be sometimes covered with people who may be on the spectrum for autism or any other kind of types of labels that people have been put on. So that's what it is.
Okay, thank you. I think the chair will probably know all about that, but us people in the villages probably don't. Anyway, that's not the question I was going to ask. The question I have, I'm on page 86, and the council proposed equality objectives read as follows. And it says, I think it's little 3, 4, even 5. I don't know what we've done there. Anyway, encouraging a diverse and inclusive workforce, which is fantastic. I mean, I totally support what you're doing.
Yes,
Don't get me wrong.
it's fine. Yeah.
Totally support what you're doing. Have you taken into consideration the court that was done up in the High Court for genders? Because I don't know if we've got any. I don't want to open a Pandora's box.
With regards to transgender?
Yes.
So with regards to that, at the moment, we don't have data that says we do or we don't. So at the moment, we understand what the court ruling was, and as it is at the minute, we haven't been challenged on that within our employees. But it's certainly something as we go forward, as we collect data, that if that does transpire, that we will make sure that we act appropriately and support how we need to.
Totally agree, 100%. Don't have a problem with that. Do you think it should be included?
Do I think it should be included in here?
Yeah, just in case, because I'm not aware, I don't know every employee that we have, that we do have facilities to what do they call it? Gender neutral toilets?
Yeah, yes, I mean, it could be added in. There's no reason why it can't be, and we do have that facility here. So yeah, I will take that on board.
I just think in the light of the world as being as it is, we could miss a trick if we don't have it included in it. That's my view, anyway. Thank you.
That's fine. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Councillor Ellis.
Thank you, Chairman. I just want to say thank you for a wonderful report, and just looking on page 97, just measures that you'd be taking, and it talks about disabled car parking spaces, which sadly we've had to have in our life because of a husband having serious illnesses and disabilities through sepsis. And I just wondered, it also says about children's, parks, green spaces and disability equipment for children. Is that something that will be in, like, the improvements in our park spaces? Is something that will be built already in here? How will they sort of get into there? Because with our park improvements that are coming up in our towns.
That's not written in this strategy, is it?
It's on page, it says measures that we are taking, examples include.
Yeah, Judy Holmes has got a response to that, I think.
It was only just a general question. I was
it's
just
fine.
thinking forward, going forward. I know these improvements wouldn't be happening as of today, but as we go forward.
It's an important question, Councillor. I think Judy's got a response for it.
And I think what this strategy does is it sets the framework for which the council will operate within. And so to answer the specific question in respect to facilities within our parks and open spaces, yes, I can confirm that those things are taken into account when we're redesigning and making improvements to play areas to ensure that the services that we offer are inclusive and reflect the objectives of our equality strategy.
Thank you, Chairman, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Is there anybody else who'd like to speak to the strategy? Councillor Lou Craft, yeah.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I'm just going to ask, in terms of employment rights and kind of respecting people's abilities and so forth, are we also looking at flexible employment structures in terms of things like part-time working or job sharing?
Yes. Yeah, in response to that, we already do that, and we've got a very good flexible working package at the moment here. Any proposal that is put forward by an employee, we would consider that. Yeah, the answer to that, we would do that. And are you suggesting that that should be put in here anywhere? Or?
Yeah, I was just looking at it. I couldn't see that spelled out specifically in there, but I would have thought it was a good thing to add in. Particularly if we're doing it, we ought to be showcasing it and telling people that's what we do.
Okay, thank you very much for that feedback. I'll make note of that.
Thank you. Yes, Councillor.
Thank you, Chair. This is a really lovely document. It's ambitious. It's going to go across the towns and the rural areas as well. It's looking at all sectors of our demographics. So, yeah, lovely piece of work. But really what I would like to know is, you talk about establishing a framework, and really I'd just like to know the time frame for getting that in place so that we can then start monitoring our progress as a council.
So with regards to the data collection, is that what you're referring to, Councillor Bello? Yeah. So we want to put a campaign together, initially to collect internal data, but I'm working with my colleagues at assistant director level to make sure that we can feed that down. And as we look at the data that we are collecting and KPIs and all of that, it will factor quite heavily in that going forward from, we hope it will start from January, the campaign will.
Could I ask a follow-up question?
Sure.
So will that then inform the sort of emphasis of the area that you will then look at? Will you rank it, or will you treat each objective equally?
I think with regards to using data to help us design services and design how we support staff, I think as we get feedback, we'll then have to look at where it fits into different projects. So I haven't, to be honest, I haven't put that forward yet, so that's something I perhaps need to take away and think about, and it's a good point. But actually, it depends how much data we can gather, because it's very easy to say we'll gather the data. When you actually go out to try and gather that data, we have to be mindful that some we can't gather, and sometimes people don't want to give us that data, which is fair enough. So I think when we've got the framework there and I've got the things in place across the services, we'll then be able to understand what we'll actually be able to gather.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Eggleton.
Thank you, Chair. And this may be a bit too micro-focused, but as I now work as a project manager, I probably should flag it. So in the Equality Impact Assessment document, it's clear that the risk management DNA is highly present within there. If you look at step 4, make your final assessment, and given that the emphasis in this strategy is very much on data, you've got either a positive impact or a negative impact, yes or no, a 0 or a 1. I'm just wondering whether it may be worth considering a 1 to 5 scale so that it can be determined into different grades. Doesn't necessarily need to be 1 to 5, but something a bit more subtle, sophisticated than just yes or no may be useful for focusing minds, especially as this document gets operationalised. Just an idea.
No, that's great. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay. Any other final comments by councillors? No? Okay, let's... the recommendation before us is the committee is requested to consider the report and recommend any changes required before adoption by the council. So if we could please vote on that. Okay, so the Equalities and Diversity Scheme proposed update and refresh. There were 10 votes for yes and none for no and abstain. So that is therefore passed. Let's move on to item number 9, which is the Scrutiny Work Programme, People and Communities, and I invite Stephen Brown to introduce that report.
Yes, thank you, Chair. The work programme is laid out before you, members in the report. You're asked to confirm the proposed programme and also to note the process for requesting via the chairman further topics to be considered. There's a form within the pack for doing just that, should you so wish to do so. I'll leave it there, Chairman.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone who wishes to speak to this? Councillor Marsh.
Yeah, sorry for dominating your committee, Chairman, as I'm only a guest. I didn't fill it in because I'm not a member of this committee, but we're going to go live with 321, and I have a lot of people across the rural areas, to say the least, that they don't fully understand 321, because if we've done away with the Mid-Sussex Matters, unless you're prepared to be one of the 1,000 people who sign up to it, a lot of people, they just don't understand why they've got to do this. So I think we've missed a trick in our publicity, getting it done. So if it's possible, I know we've got a 6-month reviewing afterwards. Even at this late stage, can we sort of allow, something, even if it's only out to the parish councils, because that can be put up on the parish websites.
Okay. Yep.
I'm probably going to say the same thing, Chairman. Yes, we will take that on board and we'll have a look at that and see if there's more we can do to actually get the information out there so people aren't quite so.
My inbox is getting quite bad.
Yeah, I'm sure it is, Councillor. So yes, we will do that. We'll look at that.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments? No. Okay, so the recommendation for the work in connection with the Scrutiny Committee is on page 131. So the recommendation is the committee is recommended to confirm the proposed work programme for the municipal year 2025-26 and beyond, and to note the alternative approaches by which scrutiny may receive information and consider matters, and also to note the process for scrutiny members requesting via the chairman further topics to be considered by the committee. If we could vote on that, please. Okay, so the Scrutiny Work Committee Programme, People and Committees, 10 voted yes, and there are no votes and no abstentions. That brings us to item number 10, questions pursuant to Council Procedure Rule 10.2, due notice of which is given. There were none, and therefore I declare the meeting closed at 8:08. Thank you for your attendance.
Stream is now finished.